Durst the worst?
Durst the worst.
Durst the worst.
Durst the worst.
Durst the worst.
Oh, Durst the worst.
Durst is the worst.
Durst the worst.
Durst the worst.
Durst the worst?
Durst the worst.
Durst the worst.
So the other day I got a random follow on Instagram. I'd encourage you to follow me. Dano Trigger, I believe is my name on there. Durst the worst, you could probably just search me up. But I got a follow from these mofos on here. I'm like, well, why the hell would these people... They can't use my sexuality as a weapon anymore. Enough. This like metoo grifter podcast followed me. Probably explains a lot of the reports and takedowns that I've gotten of a handful of my posts lately. So, I don't know, I just figured I'd check this one out, because I'm sure that there's a lot of cringe to be had. So, let's check out this podcast.
Content warning. This podcast may contain frank and graphic descriptions of sexual abuse and assault, including instances of rape. These accounts can be triggering, specifically for those who have also experienced trauma, especially of a sexual nature.
If at any point during this podcast you feel yourself getting triggered, we suggest taking a break and taking care of yourself before continuing. But we do ask that you continue. These conversations are mentally taxing, but they are so important to have.
These conversations are so important in these spaces. We do ask you to continue. We'll see if this is an actual conversation. As you know, it'll probably be more of a monologue in that you have one thing to believe in, and that won't be the truth. It'll be some...
Thank you.
Distortion of the truth.
Welcome to another episode of the Enough Podcast. My name is Kendra Sheets.
I am Rich Gill.
And today our guest is Jordan Max. Jordan, could you give us a little information about yourself and kind of how you got involved into the music scene?
So yeah, just a background. I think they have a porn star on here they're going to interview about how patriarchal the music scene is. So as you can see, adult film actress Jordan Max shares what it was like to book shows and tour with bands as a woman in a patriarchal scene. The dudes in this kind of scene, in temperament and attitude, they range from like IDGAF kind of guys standing there with like a PBR in their hand, and like really overcompensating dudes who really, really, really want you to know that they oppose sexism and racism and istophobia and phobistia and whatever the fuck systemic systems of institutional structural isms. So, I mean, this would be a major step up if this were actually true, but it's not. How becoming a sex worker helped her reclaim her sexuality. No, bitch, they've taken that from you. They've taken that from you and splayed it all across the internet. Reclaim her sexuality and body, and why sex workers favor decriminalization over legalization. Dude, they're traumatized, man. We'll get into that, though.
Hey, I'm Jordan. First of all, thanks so much for having me on here today. Really appreciate it. I got started in the scene pretty early. I want to say I was like a sophomore in high school.
Oh, geez. Too young.
I started going to little pop punk shows at this venue in Minneapolis called The Quest. And from there, I just met local musicians. They'd hand out their flyers after the shows or during the shows and, you know, talk to the girls and try to get them to come to the shows. So I met some kids in my high school who were in local bands, and yeah, so I've just been like a big music lover my whole life, and I thought it was really cool that there was this community of people that, you know, we had similar interests, like not just the music, but you know, that's what brought us together in the first place. But then we figured out we had other similar interests and commonalities. So
I think this happens to a lot of people. They hang out in the cities and they find these kind of hipstery groups. A lot of the times it's centered around music or other artistic mediums. And we found out we had other things in common, like basically being a degenerate, doing like sex worker, like far lefty stuff. You basically have to be a far lefty. You have to be a hardcore progressive. You have to support the race riots. You have to support the arson and the abortions and, you know, the genital mutilating surgeries for the troons and everything. You have to use words like in a patriarchal space, you know, to fit in. So when she says other interests, I think that's what she means. Being like a drug abusing, like PBR drinking, Adderall snorting, like, sex worker, degenerate who hooks up with a lot of people and then, like, calls it rape afterwards. I don't know. We'll get into that maybe.
So,
like hating the government.
Yeah, exactly. So I was probably about 15, 16 when I first started going to shows. There was this little coffee shop called the Fireball.
The Foxfire.
There was a Fireball too on Fireball on Snelling and Larpenteur.
Oh, really?
Do you remember?
Twin City
I don't remember
stuff.
that one.
Yeah, I mean, I went to the Foxfire, but Fireball, it was just a little coffee shop. Our high school friends' bands would play there. It was next to a bowling alley. So it was a fun little, like, hangout for, kids who aren't old enough to drink yet, but still want to go out and enjoy their social time.
That was kind of like the golden era of, like, all ages shows before everything just went to bar shows and 21 plus stuff.
Yep.
Totally. When doors were at 5 and the show had a 9 p.m. curfew, and I wish we could have those days back. I would love 9 p.m. curfew shows.
Yeah, but you guys chased out all the sane and rational people. You really did. You chased, like I said before, you have to be like a hardcore progressive lefty in order to hang out in these kind of areas. I mean, the scene when it was like all ages had a lot more all ages venues. A lot of those were like Christian venues. They were, they were like Christian kind of venues, and therefore not explicitly progressive. So a lot of those got chased out with like the metoo-esque ideology when everybody got super feminist and hardcore left-wing. A lot of those kind of people are not booking shows anymore and that's why you can't have all ages shows. That's why they're way more creepy, way more booze and drug centric. Like the all ages shows went by the wayside because you started promoting like the woke diversity stuff. I don't know how else to put this. Like, young white girls don't want to walk home alone at night when they know that Tyrone is out there. They won't say it. They'll say, "Oh, it's Brock Turner or whatever." "Oh, it's Dylan Roof. He's out there." But really, we all know it's Tyrone, right? And they don't have the language to say that because they'll be canceled by these kind of people. But I digress. Holy shit. That's why those shows went by the wayside.
I know you guys were 3 states away from where I grew up, but it sounds literally like you're explaining like small town where I basically was born and raised. Like under 21, coffee shop, weird little like for rent kind of store where like there's a fried egg type show. Parents drop their kids off in the front, they pick them up later, or like the one person who can drive has like the 15 people in the car. Like
totally. Yeah,
it's definitely like a Midwest like pop punk vibe to me. Like
Midwest like pop punk genre category. I just remember like VFW shows and like Christian youth centers. The show house thing for me was not really that huge. Some of those operated in the suburbs, like some high school kids and college kids. Parents were like nice enough to let them have a couple of shows in the basement or whatever. But yeah, it was like mostly Legion Hall shows and like VFW Hall shows and like Christian youth center shows. But like I said, these kind of people can't really book there because they're sleaze bucket sex workers. What are we gonna have, like a sex worker table at the church show? I guess that could potentially happen, but both parties probably aren't gonna like it. So
everything is the same as like how I grew up too.
Absolutely.
So through this, you said you had met like people in your high school who were in bands and stuff. And then did you also befriend like the touring bands coming through? Because no one was really huge in that scene yet.
They're so popular. Oh my God.
Later in high school, I want to say my senior year, and maybe the year after that, there was a little Mexican restaurant in Inver Grove Heights called Taco Toro.
That's racist.
And they
colonizer
had a basement that they would rent out for like salsa dancing lessons or quinceañeras and stuff. But my friends Ryan Tracer, who was in a band called Small Towns Burn a Little Slower, and East Side Heroes, and then
Small Towns Burn a Little Slower. Do you think she's got to get into the intersection of the colonization of like white people using a Mexican restaurant to have their shitty emo and pop punk shows, which reinforces a patriarchal scene.
Our friend Tony Hogue, who I believe runs a comic book shop now. I haven't talked to him in years, but that's where he was last time I checked. We kind of got together and spoke to the owner of this Mexican restaurant. We were like, hey, can we use your basement as a venue? Because this was after the Fireball closed and our friends didn't really know where to go. The owner, the manager of the
You could have gone to church, maybe. I don't know.
Spot was like, yeah, totally. So we would do shows down in the basement, and we would bring in some touring bands. We had this band called The Matches who were signed to Epitaph for a minute. They played a couple times there.
I remember them. They suck, but I remember them.
Local bands. We had a few more touring bands, especially like East Coast bands would come through. So I helped out with like the booking and the promotion, and then, day of the show, I would do the door. I'd take the money for, tickets. So that kind of got me started because I'd always had an interest in
Sleaze
music
bucket,
and live
promoter.
music, especially. It's super fun, you see people and just letting loose and having a good time and relating to the music, and I wanted to be part of that. And like this was before social media, even when bands had their own message boards.
MySpace era, dude.
Remember? So that's how we got a lot of our touring bands, was just like posting on the Starting Line website or message board, and like the Good Charlotte message board.
Oh my God, dude.
Newfound Glory message board, like the bigger pop punk acts that the little bands coming up kind of emulate.
I was just like so popular, like. And then it's going to turn dark, watch. We know how this story is going to go. Like, she wanted to be cool in the scene or whatever. This is dragging on a little bit. Right, let me predict how it's going to go. She wanted to be cool in the scene, and then, like, older dudes started coming around with, like, beer and pills and stuff or whatever, and some creepy shit like that, right? That'll be the story.
So that was great. That was really, really fun, really good learning experience. It was very DIY, because this was when... like before, booking agents obviously existed, but none of the bands that we worked with were at that caliber yet. After high school, I did tour for a little bit with Small Towns Burn a Little Slower. And that was
Why is that familiar?
That was a really good time. I learned a lot, but it was also really difficult because I was the only woman on the tour.
And I got a woman. She spelled that with a Y. You can even hear it in the way she said it.
Back in 2006, when it was still very much a boys' club in the industry. So it was definitely a learning experience. It definitely kind of taught me to have a thick skin. So
yeah, apparently not, dude. Okay, so merely being the only chick on a tour, are these your buddies or not? Or you have some sort of angle, or do they have some sort of angle? And if so, why the hell are any of you there? Like, if doing better is your goal, like, why are you associating with these kind of people? It's like just being around these guys. Does she actually believe that? That's my question. It's like, if being around guys in and of itself is uncomfortable for you, and you're around a bunch of guys, it's just like, you don't believe that. Like, this is just some metoo grifting bullshit already. But
I'm very grateful for that experience.
I don't believe it.
It was really fun.
I was grateful to be uncomfortable with a bunch of, like, guys in a patriarchal scene.
Would have liked to take it further, and continued on selling merch on tour as, like, a career. But just being the only woman on a tour, lots of prejudices. Oh, she's only here to sleep with the band, like she's only, like, oh, whose girlfriend is she? And that.
So you decided to get into pornog instead and have like 9 BBC unload on your face on camera for like, what could they possibly get paid per time that happens, by the way? Like, think of your lowest price. Everybody's got a price, right? to be in an adult film where that happens to you, guys and gals out there, whoever's listening, my absolute lowest, I'll come clean here, to have that happen, to knowing that video is going to be out there forever for millions potentially to see, 50 million. Okay? That's my absolute lowest frickin' price for that. What do you think Jordan Max gets paid? I mean, with her OnlyFans showing, Scenester in 2003, like, grifter, metoo grifter in 2022 as. Like, what do you think the absolute max, Jordan Max, she gets paid to have, like, 10 BBCs just, like, dump on her frickin' face? Like 10 grand, maybe? I don't know, dude. Like, reclaim your sexuality and body. And it was like a bunch of guys, and they thought that I was there fucking someone, and oh, you're just here to sell merch, versus the 9 BBCs on camera forever. I don't know, dude.
That just got exhausting after a while.
Exhausting.
So I separated myself from that and went a different route.
The comments that you made seem to be kind of coming from exterior factors, so other bands you were with, or maybe people like at the venue. Did you have to deal with anything directly from the band or bands that you were touring with?
I was on tour with Small Towns Burn a Little Slower. God bless them. They were like brothers to me.
She says
they
God.
took really good care of me. They looked out for me. But there was still like, talk to this guy and see if you can like bat your eyelashes and get us some money off of what we owe, or like get us some more money for what we played tonight. Or, I mean, we were so broke. We were in a van with a trailer. Like, we had our sleeping bags, but
those were the days.
Yeah, like $8 per diems, stuff like that. We were all young kids in our early 20s, and, like, girls like musicians. So there were always like girls hanging around who were friends with the band, or
these people are so shallow, dude.
Band.
So fucking shallow.
I would get kind of thrown into that circle too, just for
thrown into that bukkake circle.
for being a woman.
Wait,
when I was
being a woman,
girls like musicians.
I want to hear that again.
So there were always like girls hanging around who were friends with the band or trying to hook up with the band. So I would get kind of thrown into that circle too, just for being a woman.
When I was out with bands, I felt the same way, where I felt like I was part of the group. To them, there was like an underlying knowledge that like I was a woman, and that was different than they were. So they were always kind of like checking in with me to make sure everything was okay. But I think they were doing it in like a protective way and not like a coddling kind of way.
Coddling kind of way?
Outside of that kind of little like cocoon of people, there was like the people who would talk down to you because like you're selling merch, you're not part of the band, you're obviously a woman, so why would you ever be in the band? Except I'm holding equipment and I'm carrying it in with them because I'm helping them out. But like, fuck me, I'm definitely not a bassist or whatever.
But you're not a bassist. You were helping load in and doing merch, so they were right. What? Wait, what the fuck? I don't understand. I just what? So they assumed correctly that you were not actually in the band. I mean, I'll ask whoever, like, are you in the band? Are you in the band? Are you in the band? I'll ask that directly to everybody. 1 or 2 shows a year that I actually go to, because it's really bad. These kind of people, like, run the scene, dude. These, like, overtly neurotic, just kind of crazy, manipulative, grifty kind of people. These people run the scene, right? And you are beholden to their ideology, pretty much. Like, at all the venues, it's, like, required that you show a Vax card, and sometimes they make you wear a mask still, and, you gotta... There's, like, signs up on the wall that no sexism, no transphobia, oh my god, you'll be asked to live in these spaces. When I forgot what tangent I was going on.
Because I would...
Oh, that's right, yeah, just because I'm a woman, they assume that I'm selling merch. You both were selling merch. You both were fucking merch jockeys. What the fuck? So that's your big complaint. So you were in the rock scene doing merch for shitty, like, mid-aughts metalcore screamo bands, like regional metalcore bands, and people assumed correctly that you were doing merch, and they said, hey, can you flash your eyelashes to get a better deal? That's their big complaint. Okay, maybe they'll get into something more juicy. They probably will. We'll
get
see.
a lot of flack from like security guards, like trying to come in the back door with I'm holding a tub of t-shirts. Like, I have a Rubbermaid bin of t-shirts. Like, yes, I'm part of the tour. Like, I'm supposed to be here. And I get it. They're trying to do their job, but use your brain.
One time I had a guy smack one of those like low alcohol, like ABV beers out of my hand. He's like, that was meant for the band. I gave a band a wristband. How did you get one? I was like, you gave me one. What is that? Like a 1.2% beer or something? It was mostly water. I was just getting hydrated. And he was like, no drinks for you. And I was like, I've been on tour for 27 straight days. I live with 4 men in a van. I deserve what little alcohol I could possibly get for free. Like,
for free. So, a lot of experiences. Have you noticed all the experiences they've listed so far? And I'll assume, like, even the, like, groomy ones, all of them happen to dudes just as much, if not more. You know, did they assume that, like, you're not going to get treated like a frickin', like a heel if you're a dude? Merch guy? A merch guy? You know, like a merch dude? Is that what they assume? If so, I don't really care. I mean, because it's correct to assume that one of these scenester chicks is gonna fucking try to get into sleep with one of the band members. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's really bizarre that these people lie so compulsively and so constantly. It's like they're going out of their way to hang out in vans full of dudes, as she put it, and she's like, I need alcohol. Oh my god, give me one free alcoholic beverage I'm entitled to. Why do you hang out with these guys if you believe that? That's how I could call bullshit right there, is that you're doing it. You're doing it and then complaining about it, but then you keep doing it. It's just... what?
Please, I will lap this up off the floor.
Lap it up
I have
off the floor.
a few girlfriends who have been touring since then and still tour now. And they say, like, it's gotten a lot better, but obviously we still have a long way to go.
You had talked about how
we have a long way to go.
You know, you'd wanted to do merch and like tour as a career, but you kind of took this other path. What sort of led you over to this?
Like, what decided you to go like on OnlyFans and show your butt and feet and tits and suck off 10 BBCs?
Other side of things.
Well,
instead of being in a merch van with 4 dudes.
Okay, so there was like definitely a catalyst moment. I had just gotten back from like my second or third tour with small towns, and you know, this was when people were still having house parties, when people like named their houses, you know.
People still do that.
I was at a party and there was this guy there, and he was trying to hook up with me, and like I kept like refusing his advances, and then he told everyone that I hooked up with him anyway, even though we didn't. And he was like a tour manager of another band in the scene that the band that I was with was supposed to go out with, like on tour. And
gives a fuck, bitch.
You know, because it's my word against his, and there's like bro code, and so everybody kind of like was like, yeah, we just can't have you with us, like regardless if it's true or not. It's just drama that we don't want to deal with.
Based.
They're so happy to have the women on tour to help get with the donuts or flirt with the guys to get a discount. But the moment you become drama,
I didn't want to be drama. I didn't want to deal. That kind of just left a sour taste in my mouth. And so it just got very, very exhausting.
So the sex industry, like the porn industry, has no drama? Like, was she going to get into that maybe? I don't know. I don't understand. Like, so she was trying to get a career in the punk music subculture scene, whatever, kind of niche, but still has like sizable audience. And the dudes were shitty to her. Why? It's like, I think we'll get more into this as the podcast progresses, but why cultivate such an environment in the first place? Don't they see, like, I think I've touched on this earlier in the podcast, but they keep cultivating this very self-same culture, right? It's all about getting wasted and popping pills, being a porno actor or actress. You know, the way they've democratized it, they've YouTubified it with OnlyFans and all this stuff. I don't understand the lack of self-awareness they have, that where they keep cultivating the conditions that they're complaining about. It's a pattern that you notice with liberals all the time. They create conditions that suck in a given context, or all contexts, and then they complain about the conditions that they created, but they attribute it to something else, like patriarchy, white supremacy, whatever. Reclaim your body and your sexuality. You're just like a potential trauma victim, and you're allowing yourself to be even more traumatized through this crap. This crap right here. But do continue. We'll probably get into it more.
And I was like, I started out stripping.
Yikes, dude.
Because of that week on Warped Tour, my friends and I were brats, and we would get hotel rooms. So I ended up maxing out my credit card. I was like,
damn it, Warped Tour.
Daddy's credit card.
I was like,
patriarchal
my
credit card.
Max was only like $2,000, which was like, looking back, I'm like, like that's nothing, But when you're 18, $2,000, you're making $7 an hour at the mall. You're like, oh my God. So I started working at a strip.
So yeah, there's an advertisement for just women being shitty with credit, and they just fly right past it. They laugh it off. Like, I'm sure it's the fact that she was 18, right, and not the fact that she's a woman, but she's bad with credit. And so what is she about to tell us? That she maxed out her credit card at a hotel party at Warped Tour in like 2003, and then had to start being a stripper to pay off the credit card debt. Dude. Oh my God. Why am I'm laughing, but I think a lot of us should be crying on the inside for these kind of people. The fact that there's so many of these kind of people. It's like nervous laughter. It's like, it's clown mode laughter. You know what I mean? It's like, it's clown pills. So she gets caught up in the wrong crowd, like Warped Tour, pop punk, emo, screamo, mid-2000s, like scene douchebag crowd. She gets caught up in that shit, gets into credit card debt, and becomes a stripper, and then a sex worker. Is that the trajectory that we're going on here?
I was a bartender. And then I started dancing. I found it was a way for me to, it sounds super corny, but take my power back.
That doesn't sound corny at all. That is super valid.
Yeah, because suddenly.
Rewind. Hold on.
I found it was a way for me to, it sounds super corny, but take my power back.
That doesn't sound corny at all. That is super valid.
Yeah, because suddenly I'm in the position of power. These men are catering to me, and so I just...
Does she admit, though, that it is... I don't really know. I don't really get into the so-called power dynamics of John and Hua, right? Or whatever it is. The sex worker versus the sex worked. Is that what she's saying? That she has more power over the dude that she's taking money from? That's quite the admission, if true. Whatever MRAs that are actually still left that actually still advocate that shit. You might want to take note of that. She admitted it.
I just completely pivoted into an industry where I feel like women are more powerful than other industries, if that makes sense.
It might be a little delusional.
Yeah, totally. Especially now within the last several years, there seems to be a real uprising isn't the right word, but there's all this
a renaissance, perhaps.
Yeah, of women having adult film companies and producing their own stuff, and OnlyFans, with the sort of advent of that. It's not you relying on some skeezy dude.
Oh God! First of all, you could hear the frickin' soy dripping off this dude's voice, but OnlyFans. So they're shilling for OnlyFans again, multiple different times. I'm not gonna open up the Seymour because it's all her fucking links and shit. But let's take a look at the OnlyFans info. I had this queued up. So you don't have to deal with some skeezy dude. Okay, you have to deal with what? What's the company? Phoenix International Limited. Tim Stokely. He's a British businessman and the founder and former CEO of the internet site OnlyFans. Who's the CEO now? But yeah, scams have gone on here. Bella Thorne, I think she was. What was the scam? She promised nudes, but then made $1 million in a day, and then it wasn't nudes, and then they caused a whole bunch of regulations to happen. Yeah, child sexual abuse material on the fucking platform. The same goes to freaking Pornhub and all this stuff. I mean, this guy's shilling for OnlyFans when he knows that, like, kiddie porn is on here. Scams are on here aplenty. These people are fucking scuzbags. They fucking advocate for the conditions that they complain about because they want the conditions to exist, I guess. They're sadomasochistic. I mean, just like all progressives, they're sadomasochistic scuzbags who lie constantly 100% of the time without exception. So, and they're pedos and arsonists or or arsonist sympathizers. So yeah, you don't have to deal with some scuzzbag. That's totally valid. The advent of OnlyFans and women being pornographers and sluts more often. Oh, that's so good. That's such a good development. Yeah, bringing like slogans such as "sex work is real work" and what's the other one? Support sex workers. Bringing that into the classroom to convince or persuade little kids that, I don't know, being a whore on the internet by the time they turn 18 is a viable career option. How delightful. How absolutely delightful.
They can't use my sexuality as a weapon anymore because I own it. They can't bash me just for being a woman. They call me a slut. They call me a whore. I'm just like, let's move on. Like, tell me something I don't know.
Dude, so she's traumatized from being, like, mildly mistreated in some lame music scene. And now, oh my god, this is fucking sad.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I don't know that I've ever thought of it that way before. We're like, because usually, I mean, what do they usually come after a woman for, right? Your sexuality. But if you moved into that industry and you're like, yeah, I dance for money, or yeah, I sleep with people, it's a transactional thing. They know, like, what are they have nothing to say.
Exactly.
I have plenty to say. I've already said it. You're supporting fucking sex trafficking, effectively. You're supporting, I mean, if you support the porn industry, like, actively, you know what I mean? You are, if you're involved in that shit, you're involved in one of the skeeziest fucking industries ever. Like, again, OnlyFans and Pornhub have kiddie porn on it right now, and they won't take it down. Everybody fucking knows that. And they're here fucking shilling this, like, what, a month ago? They're shilling that, dude, as if they wouldn't have fucking known that a month ago. These people are such sleaze buckets.
Absolutely mind-blowing.
Grifters.
Right, I'm like, you can't hurt my feelings. Like,
right.
Sorry.
So you've been pretty outspoken on Twitter and stuff about sex work and how it's a legitimate form of work, which it is.
Oh, wow.
What is kind of some of the, like, backlash you've gotten from that aspect of?
People are like incels who can't get laid or heard about my power, take it back.
It doesn't really affect my day-to-day. I try to keep myself surrounded with people who share similar views, but I will get the occasional Facebook hater from high school who I forgot was on my friends list coming at me like, oh, what are your kids gonna think? What is your future husband gonna think? And I'm just like, those things don't exist right now, so I'm not thinking about them. I'm living life in the present moment. Yes, I'm planning for the future. You know, I'm trying to set myself up financially, but I'm not gonna worry about these hypotheticals. But
God damn it. So if she ever does have a kid, it's going to be, like, neglected as she goes and gets blacked. Like, going to be dropped off at daycare, you know? Oh, my God. This is such a vicious cycle. Like, again, I've said it before. Women in the workforce in general is not something to be stoked about. The capitalists promoted, you know, they promoted things like feminism. They funded these lefty 501c3s to get them out there, to get women to become wages and tax cattle, just like the men. So... so they can get their shekels twofold. So now women have to work, and I guess they feel like they have to be so-called sex workers, and they've destigmatized terms like prostitute or whatever. They're using terms like sex worker. And even conservatives are starting to use those stupid-ass terms. You know, that's what leftists do. They mangle and abuse language so they can destigmatize things that probably should have a stigma if you really think about it. I mean, what is pornography really? I mean, it's the commodification of men and women's bodies, right? It's turning our loins or whatever, the fruit of our loins into a product that is mass-produced and sold, and there's advertisements on it for more of it, and it's just so a certain tribe can make a hell of a lot of shekels, by the way, Oigavalt. But I mean, they've basically turned sexuality into like a mass-produced junk food product, in a sense. Like, they've turned sexuality into just Doritos, It's not real sex. It's subversion, it's perversion, right? It's corruption, if you think about it. Even if you eat Doritos, even if you look at porn from time to time, you should have people have this self-awareness. Yeah, I'm putting this frozen pizza in my body, right? It's probably going to be fun as I'm eating it, but it's not good for my being. It's not good for my body. Same thing with porn. It's like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm going to crank down to some pornog. But then, afterwards you kind of feel gross and drained and kind of awkward if you bump into someone, particularly a woman. I mean, come on. It messes with your expectations for what sex is going to be like. I mean, this has been gone over ad nauseum. Everybody knows this. But yet, here these people are promoting it. Do they ever get into why they would promote such things? Like, I remember, when I was a kid, you actually had to, kind of go out of your way to find pornography, right? You did kind of have to wait till you were 18, or just if your friend hawked a video off his older brother's shelf or some shit. It wasn't ubiquitous the way it is now. Oh, but I'm going off on a tangent. Holy
but again,
fuck.
it's all
degenerate.
comes back to women and their sexuality, or women being viewed as objects or property. Like, what is your husband gonna think? What are your kids gonna think? As if we aren't sentient. I don't know. As if we aren't
autonomous beings.
So,
what? Having respect for what your family is gonna think about what you do is. So what did she just say? That basically, if you raise that sort of concern, you are saying effectively that she is not a sentient being with her own free will. These people don't really understand language because they like to mangle language to make it suit their purposes.
and then there's the whole argument oh, she's somebody's daughter, she's somebody's mom. It's not just, oh, she's somebody. You have to...
What? That's a big part of who somebody is. What are you talking about? Where you're from, who you're with, what you represent. All of that encompasses who you are. What the fuck? People ask about those questions when they meet people, all the time. I
put it in perspective like that for people to understand.
I'm thunderstruck.
Or, try to get them to relate. Maybe I'm just overconfident, but I haven't really had an argument that I felt like I couldn't win yet. So.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure a lot of it is
also
just,
convincing.
I mean, both Kendra and I have dealt with this, just internet trolls who are anonymously hiding behind a a gray face avatar who are just slinging shit.
Oh, did you see someone made a subreddit about me the other day?
I saw your tweet.
I posted.
Oh, I'm so famous. They get off on it, dude. She gets off on it.
I think that means you made it.
Yep. I know, right?
You're pretty famous now.
Yeah, they were just
shallow,
this horse face girl, here's her, view her content for free. I'm leaking all her content so she doesn't make any money off it. I was bro, I've already been paid.
Oh, well, you're very strong for being able to handle your own subreddit and read.
Like I brought up before, what do you think she actually gets paid, right? And is it commensurate with what the average, mostly secure in their own skin person would want to get paid, right? Like I said, everybody's got a price, right? Like I said, 50 million. Some oy vey person out there with $50 million wants me to... No, I'm just kidding. In reality, I wouldn't do that, right? Realistically, the amount of money doesn't exist because, what the fuck, dude? If it comes down to taking, loads on the face on camera, dude, you gotta figure something else out. And whichever tribe normalized talking like this, patriarchal scene, and reclaim her sexuality through a sex worker, like whoever, oy vey, I wonder which tribe normalized that kind of language, and I wonder what should be done to them to the tune of 6 million.
Freaking the fuck out, because I probably would.
I did have a lot of friends report it, and it did get removed.
Yeah, so don't try to look for it, everyone who's listening. Instead, look for her OnlyFans
at Jordan Max with 2 X's.
Gross, dude. Hee sex trafficking. Hee supporting a sleazy industry. Hee. So they're tee-hee-heeing their way through how sleazy this whole thing is, and are they pretending to not understand that it's all sleazy in and of itself? They're like, we can do better by continuing to go to dimly lit dive bar punk shows and encourage people to go on OnlyFans at an early age. Like, your average OnlyFans, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how successful Jordan Max is on the platform, but I'm just going to go out on a limb and assume that your average creator on there does not make more than like $10, you know what I mean? And after a fee or whatever, what could they possibly be making? And now your bunghole and your tits and your vag and your feet and your BJ or whatever are out there forever. You know, like, again, yeah, it's like you're thinking in the moment and you're not thinking of your potential spouse or your kids or whatever, or your future career prospects, potential future career prospects. You're living in the moment, but like, did you ever think that maybe you should think about those things? I don't know. I'm giving a huge amount of thought to it myself. Like, for fuck's sake.
Help me buy cat food.
She still has that credit card out from those damn Warped Tour hotels. She needs to clear that debt.
She needs to buy cat food and wine, yeah.
So I imagine that when you decided to enter this industry, you've gotten a lot of support from friends, family and stuff.
Yeah. My family, my dad not so much, but my mom for sure. My mom's one of my best friends. Super awesome, but like, you know, growing up, we didn't grow up with a lot of money. So like, as soon as I turned 18, like, they didn't kick me out of the house or anything, but it was like, you have to start paying your part. My parents raised me to be very independent in that way. So I kind of told them, like, hey, I'm going to start bartending at the strip club. And, you know, my dad wasn't too happy about it. He's real rigid Catholic. He goes to church like 2-3 times a week.
Based.
Too much for I did that from kindergarten to 8th grade. I'm like, I've gone to church for enough for the rest of my life.
Yeah, 12 years of Catholic school, so I did the same thing.
Maybe there's something about Catholics that turns people away from just halfway decency. I mean, I grew up semi-Catholic too. I think a lot of it is like the wishy-washiness. It's like half people who are wishy-washy about it, and then half people who are way too rigid, you know, like way too hardcore. But although the dad is correct to not be stoked about the fact she's a porn star, I mean, like, dude, it's intrinsically sleazy and traumatic, and again, I've gone over all of it. It's commodifying and cheapening sexuality. I really don't think you have to be like either a hardcore Pat Robertson, you know, conservative pod person, or a hardcore lefty dworkinite radical man-hating feminist to make these observations. I mean, both of those extremes lie a lot, more so the lefty side, but it's correct to point out that, I mean, dude, there's a lot of suicidality and drug addiction in this industry. Do they get into that? No, I don't know. Maybe they do. Even just like a year or two ago, didn't that Brandon Iron dude, didn't he hang himself? I mean, like, a lot of people in this so-called industry get really screwed up, and for every one successful porn star that you see, there's probably like 100 that are like spanging for crack money right now on the street. You know what I mean? They're like sucking dick behind the dumpster for crack. So it's like, why promote such things? Like, why? Unless you're just like actively subversive, just in a bad way. Like, you're not undermining evil, you're undermining good, you know? So again, to bring it back, I mean, what the heck? What is the Catholic Church doing to repel so many people?
But no, my mom's always she's been like my biggest supporter. She's like, you have to do what you have to do. And, you're not doing anything illegal. So, like, don't worry about, like, she's always raised me to, like, not worry about what other people think of me, to be myself to the fullest. So
her mom encourages her to take 12 BBCs on camera for, like, what, $1,000 or 10,000 or whatever. I don't know. I can't imagine it's any more than that, dude. And considering, again, like, my lowest is 50 million, 5 million. I don't know if I was, no, I'm just kidding. Dude, she ain't getting paid no 5 million. She's got an OnlyFans, dude. After taxes and everything and fees, like, what is she? I mean, this is so depressing.
So I have her to thank for the way I turned out. Just independent and strong-minded and strong-willed and
so stunning,
and,
so
like,
brave.
I have a younger brother, so obviously I told him, I was like, "Hey, bro, I'm stripping at a strip club now, so don't come here with your friends." And like the same thing when I started porn. I told my mom, and I was like, can you tell dad for me? Thanks. And then I told my brother, because I was like, he's one of my best friends too. Like, we don't really talk a lot anymore. I lived with him for the past year through COVID, when the strip clubs were shut down.
Yeah.
That's like how I got into porn, was because the strip clubs were shut down, and I got on OnlyFans, and it just kind of snowballed.
Vocal Fry
agency reached out to me. They were like, "We've seen your content. We think you have potential. We'd love to sign you."
We'd love to sign you, and you have potential.
So I talked about it with my brother, and he took it really well. He was like, as long as you're safe, like, you're getting tested. People you're filming with are getting tested.
Wait a minute.
As long as you're, like, saving your money, you're not.
Wait, safe. Okay, so again, lefties' conception of safety is very bizarre, and morality too. Like, safety, it only entails not getting an STD. That's the only way that you could be unsafe potentially doing this. Oh my god, dude. What about, like, prolapsed orifices? What about, I don't know. There's all kinds of shit, dude. There's all kinds of. If you thought that the coercion or whatever the fuck happened in your little scene was bad, this is such a bizarre quest that she's on. Bizarre trajectory. I mean, she's probably just making it all up. But I mean, again, I like the Warped Tour scene. Like, some guy said he slept with me and then spread a rumor about me, so I started racking up my credit card debt like a woman, and then I had to start sucking BBC on camera for the juice.
Not like putting it all up your nose. There's entire subreddits
probably did
dedicated to sex workers and porn stars and strippers. And we get almost weekly a newbie will come in and be like, "Hey, I'm thinking about getting into the industry. What should I know before I start?" A lot of people are like, "How can I keep it a secret?" And it's like,
you can't.
It's gonna come out eventually. Like, do you have an enemy? Because they'll figure it out. Like, a lot of people who are like, "Oh, I work a nursing job," or "I'm a teacher, but I need to make ends meet." And we're just like, "I'm sorry, like, it's a risk that you take," which is really unfair. Obviously, nurses and teachers.
Wait, now you know how it is to make right-wing content or right-of-center content or content on the internet that criticizes the far left, like you guys. I mean, what? Someone doing porn on the internet does not... I mean, I'm just going to go on a limb and say in this day and age especially, doing porn on the internet does not limit you that many career prospects. I would say telling the truth about a wide variety of social issues from a right-of-center perspective on the internet, that probably gets you way more screwed over in life. Like, if I had to go on a limb and guess, I would say the latter more so than the former. So, but I wonder what they think about cancel culture.
Probably they should be compensated fairly without having to turn to this route
or to any second job.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone should only have to have one full-time job.
Wait, is that what they pivoted? Did she just say, like, we should be able to pay people enough so that they don't have to do this? Oh, wait, she wants people in the so-called sex industry to get paid enough. Either way, it's like, so the sex industry doesn't pay these people enough, probably because there's so many freaking people jumping on to do it. right? There's so many people on OnlyFans and Pornhub and whatnot. There's probably only so many ads to go around. Only so many simp bucks to go around. She probably must implicitly understand that. But it's like, she's just admitting right now that she's underpaid, or a lot of these people are underpaid and are looking for second jobs, you know, like. So it's like, dude, can you just acknowledge that your feminist revolution is bad for everybody? It's bad for the family structure. It's bad for everything. Like, you're out doing porn, showing your butt and your feet and your pee-pee and whatnot, and you're jazzing off all over everything, and your kids are at daycare, right? And the cost of living is going up because we have to tax way the fuck more people to give you departments at school so that you can get your degrees in the first place. That's 2 times as many people, right? Women, bum rushing the workforce. That's 2 times as many workers, right? Driving down wages, driving up the cost of an education, driving down the value of an education, because everybody has a fucking education now. Their lefty feminist 60s and onward revolution has failed us. It's terrible. And the boomers did nothing to stave it off, really. They did absolutely... The boomer conservative Fox News viewers, like her dad, obviously didn't do anything to stop her. I don't know what he could have, but... I mean, like, inside the law, of course, but... Like, why are boomers raising kids that want to do stuff like this? You know? Like, it's fucked up.
And be fine.
Yeah, it's crazy that it's like we entrust teachers to shape the future of the world in children, but we're not going to pay them enough to where they have to get, like, second and third jobs.
Okay, so we're entrusting the teachers, education workers, to teach 5-year-olds about kink and multiple genders and John Money surgeries, but we can't even pay them more than like $60K a year starting, even though they don't work the full year and they get benefits and blah blah blah. And it's like, dude, being a teacher is just like putting a freaking DVD on or whatever, a Blu-ray. It's putting a Blu-ray on, handing out a bunch of pieces of paper. And then, like, what did you children think of the video? Write down the 3 questions. It's like, are you fucking serious, bitch? You think that's a hard fucking job? You get 40 to 60K a year starting doing that fucking tripe. I could do that. And I dropped out of community college, and I guarantee you I could do a job like that. It's such bullshit. The plight of the teacher. Okay. Maybe you just need to stop snorting and drinking and hooking up with scuzzbags at punk shows. Maybe that's what
totally.
it is.
But I do want to say, like, in defense of sex work, it's been a good experience for me.
Then again, I you know, with the shutdowns and everything, inflation's a bitch, so I'm not ripping on poor people who need a little bit of a leg up or even a handout. But these people are clearly, like, scuzzy people who are corrupt and, like, snorting shit and sleazy promoter types and scenesters and pornographers. It's like, dude, keep yo shit private. You know what I mean?
For me,
scuzzy.
I have
Grifty,
bipolar.
scuzzy.
So it's very difficult for me to hold a regular job, which is why I like touring and selling merch. We weren't on, you know, a 9-to-5 schedule.
That would be
it was kind
such
of
a better
all
job,
over the
dude.
place. And it was like,
Who in the audience thinks that a better job for this woman? Okay, if we want to, quote, support sex workers, okay, which is what we all want to do here, we want to support sex workers, encourage sex workers to get another freaking line of work, maybe? Like, wouldn't that be? But that's not what they mean, right? They mean, like, empty your wallet for an OnlyFans account. Dude, like, get into the merch thing. Sell merch for a band, right? I mean, even if they're, like, painfully feminist and douchey, like, why can't you do that instead, yo? Isn't that... Man, oh man. Support sex workers by encouraging them to find a different line of work?
like different every day.
That.
Like, I've got bipolar, I've got ADHD, so
I relate.
You know, it kept
ADHD
me in the zone
anyway.
versus, like, you know, I worked an office job for a year and it wasn't for me. It was just so mind numbing, and I found myself daydreaming all the time. A lot of my sex worker friends, a lot of my porn star friends fight a lot of depression and fight a lot of anxiety.
Yep.
And this is just a job that works for us with our mental health. Like if we have to call in sick, it's okay. If we have to take a day off of work, it's okay. It's really forgiving, I feel like, if that makes sense.
No, because you're not going to necessarily get different opportunities in this industry if you keep. Yeah, no, I mean, geez, she just like. I don't know if they mean to admit all this shit as they're going, but yeah, she just admitted like they have a bunch of depression and mental illness problems, drug abuse problems. That's kind of glossed over, and like the person who's green or whatever, like, what should I know starting off in this industry? Like, don't do it. Keep it private. That would be my response, but I'd probably get comments slimed to death. Yeah, different line of work.
It does. Both of these professions, it's not something everybody can do. It takes a certain kind of person to be able to, I'm going to jump in a van for 8 weeks with 4 or 5 or 6 other smelly, unshowered people. And same thing with the porn industry. It's not something everyone can do.
Right. It's not a 9 to 5. It's, we're our own bosses essentially. So
it's not everybody can do it, but you just said that the advent of making it more or less democratized, or in terms of like everyone being able to use it, like that's a positive development. Not everybody can do it, but the culture is like encouraging younger and younger and younger people to be addicted to porn and to like look into porn as a career option. And you guys are on here and basically trying to encourage it, but I mean, like, you're like a lot of lefties do. They unintentionally lead at least critical thinkers to come to inferences that are right wing. I mean, they described all the negative shit, but basically, like, there's really nothing positive they described about being in porn. It's like, people find your identity. If you have any enemies, they're going to spread your shit around. There's mental illness. There's, there's drug abuse. There's freaking depression. There's people, like, all over Reddit saying this, that, and the other. And most of the people don't make jack shit for money, Like, most of the people just aren't cut out for it in the long run. People do it a little bit, but they realize they can't really make that much money doing it. They're not really getting that many bites on the OnlyFans, so it's like... becomes like a hobby for a bunch of people, I'm sure, but I don't think that's a hobby that you want. You're just going to end up you're just going to end up traumatized and addicted to drugs and on the street.
We have to take control, make our own schedules. At the end of the day, we're just regular people trying to get by, pay our bills the best way that we know how. It's not all like Louis Vuitton bags. It's like,
I know.
Oh,
right.
Shit, I have to pay for healthcare. It's like, oh, I have to pay for dental work. So it does get glamorized a lot, but it's more normal than you think.
It's not good.
The comparison between...
So they are normalizing so-called sex work younger and younger and younger. It's going to coincide with, like, I predict in, like, about 15 years, they're going to pretty much have officially normalized the MAPS acronym alongside the LGBTQ MAPS MAP, like LGBTQ MAP, minor attracted persons. They're going to try to normalize pedophilia, and that coincides with, bringing the drag queen, stripper, trannies around the toddlers at the bars and stuff like that. Bringing little kids to these freaking gay bars that have innuendo, like not even innuendo, just like straight up pornographic language on the walls. Yeah, all of that is very slowly, but, incrementally normalizing, as she just said, like, normalizing more and more people doing this, younger and younger and younger, and it's framed as if, like, if you disagree with it, you are a fuddy-duddy, like, you're basically her, like, overly conservative Catholic dad who has a stick up his ass, right? But no, you have not reclaimed, no, dude, none of this porn shit is reclaiming anything, dude. It's, I don't know, man. It's just damaging overall.
Music / touring and the adult industry in general. Have you come up against any sort of those? I know it's not exactly the same where you're getting kind of, inadvertently criticized or at least kind of ostracized for being a female in the music sector of things. Have you had to deal with anyone, talking down to you or treating you in, a dehumanizing way in the sex industry?
The whole thing's dehumanizing. What? For everyone involved.
a lot of men particularly think that because they are willing to pay for something, that gives them the right to ask for anything. Like, they don't believe in boundaries because they're paying. So
this is
it's
fucked
tough,
up, dude.
but like a lot of time you have to set boundaries for yourself, and you have to be able to fight, like not fight, but like you have to be able to like stand strong and like, you know, fight back and just be like,
advocate for yourself.
Advocate, yes. Because no one else is going to do it. Even on set, sometimes we have an advocate for us, sometimes we don't. But another nice thing is we also have what they call a no list. So we are able to, you know, speak with our agents and let them know like, hey, I don't like this person. I don't want to work with them.
So it's like the anti-writers. You don't want blue M&Ms. You don't want anal sex or whatever.
Exactly.
Yikes.
Cool. Yeah, no, totally. So yeah, it's nice. Like a lot of people think we're treated horribly, and you know, unfortunately, some of those voices are the loudest. A few girls have come out, and I feel really bad that that was their experience. Obviously,
but I still have to shell for OnlyFans because I'm a corrupt ass.
I believe that
grifter.
because you know not everything is sunshine and rainbows. But I think it's important to hear like the good side of it too, just to kind of normalize it.
What? So she just straight up says, yeah, let's normalize a bunch more people getting on OnlyFans. Dude, let's not, though. I mean, first of all, you take something that was once, like, kind of seedy and underground, and you make it overground and on a fucking app for everyone to see of all ages. I mean, not only are you corrupting everybody's minds and bodies, but, whatever, like, excitement was in sex, you've just sort of like taken it out. It's desensitizing. It's desensitizing and it's corrupting. I don't know what else more to say.
It's what we do to pay our bills.
Dude.
That's it.
This is a dark, seedy underworld, man.
It's ups and it's downs.
Yeah, but like you're gonna have a good day at work. Yeah, you're gonna have a bad day, but you know, it seems like sex work is the only industry where people are like, oh, but do you like your job? Oh, you don't like your job? Find a new job. Like, would you say that to a doctor? Would you say that to a lawyer? Like,
I feel like...
No, I think doctors and lawyers way more consistently genuinely love their jobs. It's a horrible comparison. Why are women allowed to make arguments like that without someone just, like, verbally casting them through a fucking kitchen table? I don't know why.
The female facing sex workers are the ones who get those comments. No one's going up to the guys being like, hey, do you like your job? You know, and then if you don't like it, it's probably because either you're not good at it or, you know, what.
Nobody comes up to the guys and says, do you not like your job? Because nobody cares about men's mental health and well-being. What the fuck? So she's framing that like that's women getting the short end of the stick. That's that's just like an insane way of framing that. Yeah, nobody comes up to men and asks them like, yeah, do you like having light shined on you? And you know what I mean? Like showing your, like all the weird things that pornography entails that I've heard about. Like, nobody checks in on men. You're right. That's terrible. What the fuck? Guy could be just as drug addicted or suicidal or depressed as the chick on set, but nobody checks in. So what the fuck?
Whatever. And there's some sort of like, they're finding reasons to be
you suck.
Dehumanizing and deprecating to women.
Yes.
I hate you.
Always. Like a few weeks ago, there was a Twitter exchange.
All progressives do is lie 100% of the time, without exception. Shout out to Darren Kern on that one. Check him out. Probably a link in description. But damn, just they will frame things so disingenuously to make a point every single fucking time. Wow. Yeah, fuck men's emotional well-being on set. Yeah, nobody says, hey, you like your job? You hate it? Yeah, they might not like it, dude. They might not like, you know, while they may be getting some sex or whatever, there's like a dude perched up like right above him, like with the camera right there, you know? It's work. You know, it's like they're performers. It is not just having sex. It's like getting fucking traumatized, probably. Knowing that that shit's out there. Again, like if your life's something different later and you know that that shit's still out there, I guarantee you plenty of guys and gals alike feel that way.
My friend Kita,
Fucking
he's
bitch.
a pro wrestler, but he has always been interested in doing porn as well, which is funny because pro wrestling and porn actually intersect way more than you might think. You know,
Why
we're all
it's
just
so fake.
entertainers in our underwear
Yeah.
dancing around for people to stare at.
If there's a single pull quote to take from this, I want it to be that. Like,
I want it to be that soy-coated cricket burger with a side of mealworm fries to combat climate change and how it intersects with white supremacy in these like spaces.
comparison between wrestling and porn.
Yeah.
That's all I heard when this guy talks.
He mentioned on his pro wrestling Twitter that he's like, yeah, if I wasn't wrestling, one of my dream jobs would be porn. And a few people responded and they were like, yeah, I can see how that would be a dream job for a guy.
Because women can't enjoy sex.
Exactly. So there again, the gender divide. But Kita pulled through and he like quote tweeted and he was like, no, I think if it's a dream job, it's a dream job, no matter whether you're a guy or a girl. I was like, Kita, love you. You're my favorite.
No, just because somebody says that doesn't mean that women can't. What the fuck kind of argument is that? Once again, it's having nobody give a shit about whether you're doing good or bad in an industry because you're a guy is not a boon. It's not a fucking bonus. I hate feminists, dude. They're such pieces of subhuman, grifting, lying, sociopathic, abusive fucking garbage. I fucking hate them. Then they get to frame this as if they're altruistic, awesome fucking people. God damn it, they suck.
So it's cool. It's cool to have like allies out there. I feel like more allies are being more outspoken about sex workers' rights and decriminalization of sex work and stuff now.
I can't think, besides like my mom who barely uses the internet, like, God, I hope she doesn't know what porn is. I don't know anyone besides my mom who doesn't watch porn. We'll just say it that way. But that's only because she probably doesn't know how to like find it. Maybe she would, I don't know. But everyone takes part in it in some way. But when the conversation comes up, everyone's like, oh no, it's disgusting. Oh, those people in there, they're so sad. But like, you were just pants down, caught in the bathroom with your phone in hand.
Dude, that doesn't, of course, but that, like I said, with the Doritos and the getting wasted and all the stupid degenerate shit we do and like the additives laced food that we put in our body that isn't really food. Porn is the same fucking way. Like I said, it's commodifying this act that's supposed to be beautiful. Sexuality is supposed to be between people who ideally love each other, and you're just treating it like it's a freaking cheap joke. Like some cheap little bag of Doritos or whatever. And then you're like, and then the patriarchal objectification or whatever. First of all, it's not patriarchal. It's just like oy vey arcle. It's Talmudic arcle. It's that. And men and women are, I mean, I don't give a shit if it's equal. Like, they're both treated fucking like fodder for this industry, right? They're both treated like they don't fucking matter. In different ways. People care less about men in the industry, though, because of feminism and gynocentrism and all this dumb shit. But just because we're all looking at this stuff doesn't make it right. Like, again, 70% of Americans are, like, fucking obese. Does that... Okay, yeah, everybody's fat now. Okay, so fat... Yeah, these people probably do believe in big is beautiful, healthy at any size, so-called body positivity. More lefty mangling of language. Body positivity, it's not positive to be fat. Like, there's no way you could frame that. It's not. But what the fuck, dude? Everybody's doing it, so it's totally cool. Let's normalize it.
Like,
that's
come
their attitude.
On. Right.
That's their attitude.
Like, you point with one hand and you jerk off with the other. It's like, make up your mind.
That's the pull quote I want, Rich.
That's not that clever.
Yeah, and that's a thing. That's a thing that blows my mind when I get like trolls hating on me.
It's appeal to hypocrisy, which an argument does not make. Yeah, we're all hypocrites, but that's kind of irrelevant. Like, the question is this so-called industry good for society? Whether we all eat Doritos or not, we could still see that mass-producing junk food is bad for us, so we could fucking see that mass-producing all this porn and normalizing people getting into it younger and younger and younger is not good for any of us. We can acknowledge that, but these people are here normalizing it because probably deep down they feel that it's icky, because it is.
I'm like, well, obviously you've seen my work. So, like, I don't understand why you're being mean to me. Like,
I'm not being mean. This is tough love, okay? I think that y'all are doing something sleazy.
Possibly.
I think that it's skeezy and it's disingenuous, and, I resent the fact that espousing these views gets you canceled, but, like, honestly, if anybody should be canceled, it's y'all. You're trying to fucking normalize the gross shit in society. If we lived in a sane, rational freaking country, you would be canceled, not me.
The most intimate and vulnerable act that you can do with someone else for a public audience.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
With the metoo movement and, like, women really kind of, like, getting a voice, like, but at the same time, there's a lot of...
So, like, I don't understand.
I want to hear what that fucking soy pod said.
Understand why you're being mean to me. Like, I am doing possibly the most intimate and vulnerable act that you can do with someone else for a public audience.
Dude, that's so fucked up. Doing the most intimate act that a human being can do with another person in front of a public audience, commodified, cheapened, turned into junk food. Just wowzers, man. These are right-wing arguments unintentionally. Right? She's making, like, the Catholic sort of right-wing argument for us, which, again, there's flaws with the Catholic Church. I'm not going to deny that, but being generally Christian is actually kind of based when I keep looking at it. Like, the Christian right, the true Christian right, has it the closest to correct on morality, and ethics and morality and the way to live your life. They have it the closest to correct. And I think that the more she talks about this industry, the more she makes their argument for them, dude. It's like, yeah, you're doing the most intimate frickin' act on camera, right? Keyword intimate, right? Like, kept more private, right? By all means, like, make the home movies, but, like, home movies, right? They're private viewing only, right? Yeah, there's too many societal ramifications.
With the Me Too movement and, like, women really kind of, like, getting a voice, like, but at the same time, there's...
The Me Too movement that we have to obligatorily mention, hashtag Me Too, with, like, women getting, like, a voice. Dude, they falsely accused Kavanaugh of gang rape because they're angry that they might not potentially be able to kill their babies by the tune of, like, $1 million a year. Come on, dude. Women finally getting a voice, and then they're gonna go, like, burn the country down after they repeal Roe, because the cops are just gonna stand there and supervise the frickin' arson, just like they did with the fucking 2020 riots. They're gonna try to normalize, speaking of normalization, they're trying to normalize these fucking violent riots in the streets every summer. And that'll be the new America, Vimerica.
A lot of government regulations who have kind of been going after the adult film industry and talking about the decriminalization of sex work. Can you kind of just speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, so actually there was a bill passed 4 years ago today, I believe, either today or yesterday, called FOSTA SESTA, which was supposed to be fighting sex trafficking. However, it kind of did the opposite of that and just drove sex trafficking further underground because it shut down Backpage and Craigslist personals and stuff like that. Now, however,
probably reduced
there are a few legislators. I know Elizabeth Warren is one of them.
It's like saying that banning abortion won't reduce abortion. Like, the million chicks that get an abortion every year will just shove coat hangers up themselves in a back alley. No, I think very, very, very few women are psychotic enough to do that. You're just projecting because you're that psychotic. I think most women would just either be a little bit more careful or, give the kid up for adoption or raise the kid, It would result in a massive reduction in abortion, obviously. And yeah, there'd be a few odd psychos who jam coat hangers up themselves, and we would throw them in a frickin' mental institution, hopefully. So I really don't think that regulating or banning so-called sex work is going to create more of it or sleazier of it. We just got to get more hardcore on busting these people, which means not electing anybody to the left of center for anything, particularly DAs, Supreme Court, justices, whatever. Like, don't appoint them, don't elect them, just don't, locally or on the Supreme Court. Right? Like, don't put shit libs in power. I mean, that's really, again, back to these people advocate for the conditions that they end up complaining about, but then they just use different language that's mangled to inaccurately describe it. And so it goes round and round and round in a circle. They do something stupid. They have shitty conditions that they complain about, but they don't complain about it honestly. And then they just do it all over again. It's fucking stupid.
And
Representative
Rokana from he's from the Bay Area in California. They are trying to get a bill passed now to study the effects of that, because government hasn't caught any sex traffickers because, they shut down their main means of communication. But there's a big difference between decriminalization.
She's shilling for Justice Democrats. They're shilling for metoo, OnlyFans, Justice Democrats. Like, these people are such grifters.
And legalization. And I don't think enough people know about that. So, like, for example, legalization, like brothels. Legalization, like, you have to register to work at these places, and you have to get tested, which is a good thing. Not knocking that at all. But it also, legalization controls when and where and how you can work, versus decriminalization, which just decriminalizes everything. Like, you can just kind of, you can work on your own. You can work with a manager, aka a pimp. You can work at a brothel. You can work with other women.
So she could work for the biggest pimp of them all, fucking Tim Stokely of Phoenix International Limited. When they said earlier, like, oh yeah, it's an advantage, you don't have to deal with some creepazoid. Yeah, you do. What are you talking about? You deal with these corrupt apps that have kitty porn on them and shit. What the fuck are you talking about?
And the government's not telling you, like, when, where, how, which is good. We prefer decriminalization because a lot of vulnerable communities are sex workers. Lots of LGBTQ, lots of immigrants who don't have their citizenship that are just, just gross. Trying to make it.
That shouldn't be here. Did you ever think about that? Like, the fentanyl shouldn't be here. The sex trafficking shouldn't fucking be here. You corrupt, disgusting fucking bitch. God. These people are grifting off of just, like, utter sleaze and degeneracy. And they bitch about it. And I'm bitching about it, but more honestly. I mean, okay, who can we elect? Who can we, I don't know, force into power that's just gonna frickin' limit or maybe outright ban this stuff? I mean, that's what's best for the country at this point. I mean, we can see it right here.
And
how can we make it happen?
Decriminalization also protects sex workers more, because if you get attacked by a client, or if you come across this thing like someone who wants to harm you, you can go to the police and you can say, hey, this guy...
The police that you want to defund and fucking, like, demotivate and demoralize and put a chilling effect over constantly by rioting, probably? Like, what? Nothing that these people advocate for is going to help anybody. You already know that. They're progressives. Like, nothing they advocate for is good for anybody. They're just going to normalize shitty behavior and then not realize that that's how they created this situation that they're in. I've said it a million times. Let's just finish this fucking thing up.
Raped me. This guy attacked.
And have sentences that stick then. A client did some shit to you, but then you want, like, again, like a liberal justice or a liberal DA who's going to give him a slap on the wrist, kind of like bullshit-ass sentence. And then you turn around and blame the fucking patriarchy. Or it's like, dude, you are brainwashed psychos. You did this. Liberal, leftist, progressives did this.
The way it is right now gives these men a lot more power, versus decriminalization would give the workers more power.
did she say there's a dichotomy between men and workers? Did you hear that?
Abilities to like organize and, you know, set things up in a favorable.
Because men aren't workers in this industry at all. They're only at the top, right? And it's male centric. It's not Talmudic or Judeo centric at all. No, of course not. Not in the porn industry. It's white Christian men running it, just like your dad, right? It's white Catholics running this corrupt ass industry. Okay.
Way. And there's still a lot of stigma that we're kind of fighting against. So, you know, until it kind of gets normalized, I don't think things will really get that far. But I do think like OnlyFans and, you know, how popular strip clubs have become in mainstream culture, I think that's a good start to kind of normalizing this and getting conversations started.
Conversations in these like spaces to normalize. Oh my god. We're all going to be living in pods, eating cricket burgers and soy glazed mealworm protein bars. We're going to be living in multi-occupant pods hooked up to porn machines to watch slags like this like dildo themselves while taking like 9 BBCs. Dude, is that really that is the future liberals want, but when I lay it out like that, do you really want that? Or are you really that depraved and disgusting and horrible? But anyway, I've had enough of that. If you got this far, you know, clicking all my links and whatnot, they'll be in the description. I'm going to clip out this podcast to clip out some of the better parts. You'll see that on the main channel, Dirt's the Worst. Biatch.
Nothing, did you nothing, I did you nothing, nothing, did you nothing, I did you nothing, nothing, did you nothing, I did you nothing, yeah, good boy, I did you nothing, nothing, did you nothing, I did you nothing, nothing, did you nothing, I did you nothing, nothing, did you nothing, I did you nothing, yeah, good boy, just a rectum, gone on the hill, on up until I did you nothing, nothing, did you nothing, I did you nothing, nothing, did you nothing, I did you nothing, nothing, did you nothing, I did you nothing, you good boy, did you nothing, nothing, did you nothing, I did you nothing, nothing, did you nothing, I did you nothing, nothing, did you nothing, I did you nothing, you good boy, I'm running home, bitch off and hurt, stopped on the blues, I did you nothing, nothing, did you nothing, I did you nothing, nothing, did you nothing, I did you nothing, nothing, did you nothing, I did you nothing, you good boy, did you nothing, nothing, did you nothing, I did you nothing, nothing, did you nothing, I did you nothing, nothing, did you nothing, I did you nothing, you good boy, did you nothing.
I ain't do nothing.